Ladies, gentlemen, domestiques, welcome to another episode of the Domestique Hotseat podcast. Today we are speaking with Jens Voigt, and I just left this, once we finished recording, we were talking for another 15 minutes. He's just one of the nicest guys. I hope that comes through here. I think it's a really good episode, and I genuinely hope that you enjoy it. If you do, chuck us a like, and give us some guests that you'd like us to try and bring on. We want this to be people that you're interested in, so if there are people that you would like to see, chuck them in the comments and we'll try and get them on board. But yeah, without further ado, guys, here's Jens Voigt. Okay, so this one was supposed to happen last week, but there were some issues, and so we are recording today. But fortunately, Jens, that gave me time to read about half of your autobiography. And that means that I am probably the most prepared that I've ever been for one of these interviews. So I'm not the first Australian that you spent a little bit of time with. There was an anecdote in your autobiography that I just wanted to ask you about because the story seemed absolutely crazy. You were out, you'd won a race from memory, and you were out with the Aussie guys having a bit of a celebration. And the end of the story essentially is that they totaled a car. Can you elaborate on this? Like, what went on? Because I promise you, not all Aussies are that crazy.
Well, yeah, I live together like three neo-professionals, right? Two Australians and myself. So one bedroom each in our small house. We did share kitchen and living room. And I won the first race for us, for our little community, our house. And I said, okay, yeah, let's go and have dinner. I pay. So we have dinner, and they go, oh, you know what? And it was a tough day. It was a split day. So the morning stage, which I ended up winning, and a short TT in the afternoon. Cold, rainy all day. So I was also tired, racing twice that day. I was home basically for an hour until we went out for dinner. And then about 9:30, 10-ish, they went, hey, there's this nightclub bar next door. Let's go there. I said, well, okay. So we ordered some drinks, and about midnight, I said, hey, guys, listen, I did wake up like around 6 this morning to have breakfast. I had 2 stages. I'm done, right? So it's 2 of them left. And as I walk out of the room, I see him ordering 2 of them. Another bottle of whiskey and another bottle of Coke. So to mix their own Coca-Cola vodka,
Oh,
like, yeah. Holy smokes, that's, ambitious. 2 of them for an entire bottle. Well, the next morning, somewhat, I look out of the window and go, the car's not there. I wonder where the boys are. And I hear noises in their rooms. I'm like, And, since you're not stupid, you go, please, don't let it be what I think it is. Please don't let it be what I think. So I said, hey, boys. And they're like, yeah. One kind of bit of scratched face. The other one had like a bit of a blue eye. I'm like, what happened? Where's the car? And they went, oh, we don't know about the car. I'm like, you get out of the bed, jump in my car. We got to see what's going on. So they basically, I don't know how they made it out of the driveway, out of the parking of that nightclub, but basically 100 meters down the road. Basically, to explain, there's a highway, and just underneath is that nightclub. So you have like a 200-meter drive parallel to the highway, and then you hit the highway exit. So there's a little island where you have the exit row, a roundabout, and another little ramp where you have the entrance row, right? So it's the highway, 2 lanes coming like this to a roundabout. They came flying down there, went over the first road, across the entire roundabout in the middle, and the car was sitting in front of a traffic sign on the other side. And yeah, you could see the car, all wheels were like this, the car sitting with the bottom in the grass. So that, hey guys, listen, we need to make the car disappear. So I couldn't pull it because my car's not heavy enough. I had an Opel, I think it's Holden in your country. I had a Holden.
Yep.
Opel
Yep.
Astra station wagon, Holden station wagon, smaller one. And my car just didn't have enough weight. And so I have a German car club, ADAC, Deutscher Automobilclub. And I called the national helpline. I said, yeah, we sent one. I said, send a big, like a strong, send a truck. We need power to pull. Okay. So by the time we said, I said, you guys are in so much trouble.
Yeah.
It's April, right? You are here on a tourist visa, which is valid for 3 months, January, February, and March. We are in April. You are illegal in the country, drunk and drive, running away from the scene in a car that has not been paid yet and is not officially registered. You guys are looking at prison time here. But you were still so drunk and had headaches from the whiplash from the accident. They wouldn't realize. Fortunately, the car showed up, a big tow-away truck, and the guy looked at us, looked at the car. He saw the sign of the nightclub down the road, and he knew within a split second the situation. And he went, hey, yeah, have you talked to police? Yeah, it's all good. Yep, talk to the police. Yeah, it's all clear. You can tow the car away. So he took the car away. He said, come on Monday and see me. And basically, then we went to that shop on Monday. He said, here is the radio and the CD stack for the hi-fi system. We give you another $200-$400 for using rest of the parts, and you go home. And we were like so happy, like, yep. You know, give me that money. You have never seen me. I have never seen you. And the car was gone. And oh man, that was just insane. But it started completely innocent, like it always does. You know, we go, oh boys, yeah, let's have a celebration. Let's have dinner together. I won a first race for our house. So dinner is on me. And then, it went to that nightclub, pub, discotheque, whatever it was. And I left at midnight. I said, look, I'm tired. I need to go to bed. I had to boy stayed a little longer. And it all went ballistic from there.
Yeah, it's funny. Your career seems to really line up with Australians. Did you find that you got, like, your first team was the ZVVZ Giant team, and then obviously when you come over to the, I'm blanking on it, but your first team in Europe,
which then became Team Trad Agricole.
Yeah, so you come over there and you've got a lot of Aussies like Stuart O'Grady on there. Just to clear things up, it wasn't Stuart that was the one that was involved in that incident, but
correct.
You do have a bit of a connection. Did you find that you were drawn to Australians for some reason, or was it just happenstance that you ended up in these teams with large Australian contingents?
Well, you're Australian, so maybe you know. I met my first Australians end of 96 when I signed my contract, and 97 in a training camp. Until then, I was just a innocent little child from Germany. And then I met these Australians, and believe me, they show you things no human eye has ever seen before. And we were not made to see these things ever. Images burned forever into my brain. I liked them. I liked the free spirit. I liked the devil may care attitude. And I mean, remember, for me as a German, I could race and live in France. It's 1 hour flight or whatever, 5 hours or 6 hours in a car. For Australians to race in Europe, to live there, means leaving home for good, for months. You know, and it was just the beginning of internet. So before that, you would have a landline or sending faxes or letters home. You were basically disconnected from your home, your culture, your country. So in order to make that jump across the pond, you need to be a special cookie. You need to be a tough cookie to actually look at these challenges and take them on. There's no space for softies, at least not back then, you know? You're in a new environment, racing is differently, the peloton is bigger than back home in Australia. So basically everything changes and you're away from home. And we lived in France, and back then still 95% of the French people refuse to talk English or never learn English because they live in France, so we speak French in France. So yeah, you need to be a special character to make it. And yeah, that's why we had some wild ones coming over.
Yeah, I'll say the stories, and I'm thoroughly enjoying the book. The stories in there are fantastic, and one that I found really interesting that I didn't know. So I'm a history teacher as my full-time job, and I didn't know that you were born in East Germany. Now, what I found really interesting reading your autobiography was that you speak really fondly of it. And I was talking with my wife about it and saying, I find it really interesting because it's a different perspective to what we're used to hearing in the West. In the West, all our documentaries sort of paint behind the Iron Curtain as this dystopian sort of world. But I mean, the world that you grew up in, you like I said, you speak quite fondly of it. Can you sort of talk to what it was like growing up in East Germany, the cycling there and how popular it was, and then sort of that clash that you must have felt when you jumped over to these races in France?
Well, growing up in East Germany, we're not talking North Korea, you know?
Yeah.
For sure, not everything was good, right? And I don't want it back. But we had the same life like you and your family have, just smaller. You know, it was harder to get a car. Apart from food, everything was kind of like a scarce resource. Find a good pair of jeans, it was either super expensive or you would look for months to run through different shops to find whatever you need, right? So life was okay. Life was small, but safer because everything was so controlled that nothing ever got stolen because everybody knew everybody. And so it was a controlled little life, but it wasn't terrifying. On the other side, I was still a child. I was 18 when the wall came down. So, and I do remember my uncle, he was a bit of a rebel. And to punish him, the government called them twice a year for training with the Reserve Army National Guard. My dad never was called up for that. He said, look, he got 3 kids, he's working, he's okay. But my rebel uncle, twice a year, he would have to go and sleep in the forest in tents just to punish him.
Yeah, wow.
Little things, you know? So yeah, I don't want it back. Sport was always a big part because in our social system of communism and socialism, their idea was that us athletes were diplomats in training suits. We were supposed to go out, win medals at World Championships and Olympics to show the decadent West how superior our system is and that we produce superior people. And even though I was only 18 when the wall came down, years and years of brainwashing and, you know, hearing the same theory and idea about socialism again and again, it still stuck to me because, you know, 13 years of school, I heard it at least once a day, how good our system is and how decadent and terrible the other side is. For us, the message was, we live on the good side of the iron wall. The iron wall is there to protect us from you, mean people on the other side, that capitalism is like a parasite on the world. It's just mean and bad. And I remember back then he told us that capitalism is a 2/3 system. 2/3 live well at the cost of 1/3. 1/3 of them lives badly because the other 2/3 of the 100% want to live good or do live good. And it kind of like, it is like this if you now live in this system, right? But they never taught us about freedom and their own responsibility. That was the biggest challenge, that you have to take care of yourself. That wasn't like that in East Germany. Everything was, your path was clear. Once you qualified for the sports school system at the age of 13, you go to that sports school at the age of 14 and do that. Your path was step by step, planned by the party, the government, or your coaches, and so on. So sport was a big, big part of our system, and the government paid for all of it. We didn't have sponsors, right? So the government paid for everything, and that's why it was efficient, because money wasn't really that much of a problem because the government paid for it. And then all Olympic sports got more money than sports you would not go to the Olympics, and especially sports where it was relatively safe to plan for an Olympic medal, like just pure endurance power sports, like rowing. If I can reach that time, I'm very likely to win a medal. If we talk about soccer, that's different. You cannot plan a medal in a soccer tournament because things might go wrong. Your team might have a bad day or what. So there was less government money for that, but more for sports where I know I can win a medal here and there. If I run that fast and I'm close to world record, I will get a medal at the Olympics. So they put their resources really into the idea of winning most Olympic medals.
And that's how you come to cycling. So you get picked up by a sports school, you go through the sports program. That sounded really cutthroat there. And then just as you're about to graduate from that sports program and I guess go into your Olympic career, the wall comes down and all of a sudden you're thrown into this capitalist world and you don't really know what your pathway is. One thing that I walked away from after sort of getting through a bit of the book was just how determined you were to make this stick. There was one point where you said you were taking on a 1-year contract. You left your wife and one kid, was it at that point, who had to move back in with her parents so that you could come over and try with, was it the ZVVZ Giant team that year or was that the GAN team? And you were going to give it a go for 1 year. And if you didn't make it, you were going to sort of, okay, at least I've had a try. Where do you think that determination comes from? Because a lot of people, when they're sort of nurtured in a system that, like you said, I guess provides a lot of things for you, they might have found themselves lost in the same sort of scenario.
Well, try to cut a long story short, I learned the lesson that more or less almost nothing in life is granted to you, is given to you for free. At the age of 12, I started with almost 10 years, 9 years and a little bit. So the first 2 years, I won probably every single race except the national championships. Then at the age of 12, we had, I'm from a small town at countryside, right? We had an outbreak of a pig's disease. So we had a quarantine, so we couldn't leave the town. So you could either run circles in your little town or home trainer. So you lost a lot of training at the important spring period where you built up your base miles, your foundation for the season. So I was basically the rest of the year just chasing behind my own form. And I was getting my head kicked in. I was getting my ass kicked in races, which never happened like that before. So I had to learn race smarter. Just don't go to the front and drop him because you're the strongest. You got to race smarter. Use your resources. Finishing, back in the top 10 for the first time, you go, that's a success. So you learn to okay, not everything is just up, 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 up. There, your career, your life might go through valleys and highs and valleys and highs. So I learned the lesson quickly. Stay focused. Don't lose confidence in yourself, and follow your plan. Like a good friend of mine, Bobby Julik, always used to say, plan your work and work your plan, And so, early I learned, okay, stay focused on the job and everything else comes with the success.
And this sort of determination, you're known for your grit. There's a famous phrase that you have, the shut up legs. I remember when I first started cycling, people had it on their stem, on their head tube. Like, it was just a sticker. You were really popular in Australia around the time that I first started picking up cycling. I mean, hell, you're still popular now. But there are some elder statesmen that would listen to this podcast, but there are also some cyclists that, from a new era that may not know the background of the catchphrase. Can you talk us through how this becomes the mantra that you're probably most known for? When I put up that I was speaking to Jens Voigt on the podcast, everyone was, oh, shut up legs kind of thing. So how did that come about?
It must have been 2006 or 2007 during the Tour de France. I was 2 or 3 days in a row in a breakaway, and the Danish TV team asked me, so Mr. Vogt, how do you do when your legs don't want to do it anymore, when your body is tired? And there I created that phrase. I said, yeah, then I just force my body. I just go, shut up legs, do what I tell you. Mind over matter. Somehow that caught on with the fans. They cut everything out, apart from the shut up legs. Even for a while, I had an app on the App Store made from GVA, Jens Vogt's Army.
Really?
So, there you go. And funny that you talk about it. 2 days ago, I was at the Berlin 6 days.
Yeah.
And randomly, a man comes, hey, Jens, look at this. Pulled up, his trousers on his left calf and had shut up legs on his left calf.
Yep.
It's a tattoo. I've seen quite a few of them.
Wow.
The fans cut everything out apart, shut up legs, and it became a self-igniting process. I have seen shut up legs written on the road in the Boston Marathon.
Yeah.
And somewhere in Australia, I believe in Melbourne, in some sort of triathlon. They had shut up legs on the road. So it is worldwide, so to speak, for runners, for triathletes, for cyclists, endurance sports, because they all know sometimes if your body want to give up, you got to force it to keep functioning, And people asked me once if I ever regret it, because often people go, hey, Jens, say it. Say shut up legs one more time for me. If I regret that I ever created it, I said, no, not at all. Because on a very small scale, that makes me immortal. Yeah. When I'm gone in, let's say, 50 years from now, there probably will be still somewhere shut up legs on the roads at the Tour de France, maybe forever.
Yeah, well, I grew up quite religious, and I sort of fell away from that. And my dad is still very religious, and he always said, what is it that you think is the purpose in life then? And I said, I think it is to leave a legacy like that. And one of the things that you sort of said, and we'll touch back on this at the end because I think it's a good way to close, but you did say that you wanted to leave, I think in the autobiography you phrased it as you want to leave your own footprints. That is, to have that written on famous climbs in the Tour de France, the Boston Marathon, how does it feel for you to know that is something that you've created that you'll leave behind?
I do really enjoy it, to see it every now and then. I got 6 wonderful children, so I live on through them as well, as a father in my children, which actually shortly, I love to look at them, because in each of the 6 kids, I can see my wife and myself in them. Some kids more of my wife, some kids got more from me, but in all 6 of them, I can see just that perfect mix from my wife and myself. It does make me proud. And every now and then it still guts me and touches me that I created that. And some people are like in a positive awe or shock. You go, you are Mr. Shut Up Legs? I'm like, yeah, I'm the original Mr. Shut Up Legs, actually.
The original. And at the time that you were writing, there are a lot of people, and again, we'll touch onto this as well, but there are a lot of people that probably haven't left legacies that they would necessarily be proud of. To come out of that era of cycling and have your legacy being something that is so positive, and something that, I was doing a ride not that long ago and I was thinking the same thing. It must be pretty cool. So, in your answer to the shut up legs, you mentioned that you've been in the breakaway for 3 days in a row. You were pretty infamous for these suicide breakaways. Why was it that you were always agitating the race? I think you said that you feel like you would have been diagnosed with ADHD if you grew up in modern times. Do you think that maybe it's just the inability to sit in? Is that part of it, or what was it that was motivating you to agitate the races like that?
Well, here's another little lesson for life. There gotta be a moment where you sit down and you gotta be honest with yourself. It could be painful, it could be nice, or all of it in between. So you sit there and look at the cards life has given you. And it's up to you to play the best possible game in life with the cards you have. It does not help you to look at the cards of Peter Sagan or Tadej Pogacar, or Jay Wine, because you don't have their cards. You have your cards. You got to play the best possible game. Go Royal Flush, play for the bluff. Maybe you got a pair of 8s or a pair of 9s, which is not much, but that's all you have. So how do you get through life with that? And I looked, to get back to cycling, I looked at my qualities. What do I have? The desire to win. I'm willing to work hard and for a long time. I'm willing to suffer. And I got a big engine. That was my strength. A big engine that could run for a long time. So what can I do? I could never, ever beat Mark Cavendish or Jesper Philipsen in a sprint. I could never, ever beat Alberto Contador or, in modern cycling, Pogacar on a climb. And I couldn't beat Ghana in a time trial. So I needed to do something else, right? And that was basically anything that made the race hard and terrible and sticky and vicious was good for me. Bad roads, bad winds, bad weather, cold temperatures. Everything that made the race terrible was good for me because I was less affected by that. I wasn't getting stronger, but I wasn't going down as quick as others, right? So that helped me. Basically, I had to put everybody, including myself, through the meat grinder. And I would come out better on the other side than most others. I would love to be a sprinter, hiding. The team is working. You hit the front at 200 meters, adjusting the gel in your hair, and you win, and you got, the glory and the paycheck and everything. But it wasn't given. I wasn't a sprinter. So unfortunately, I always had to go the hard way to have a win. But if you try to win like I did, I failed many, many more times than I actually pulled it off. But if you try to win, you might lose. If you don't try to win, you lose for sure. And I had too much respect for myself to be just field-filling material. I'm like, at least I want to give it a go. If it doesn't work, at least I can say, hey, I gave it everything I had. Somebody else was better. But just giving up at the start line already, no, that wasn't for me. So yeah, I probably failed 9 times out of 10. But these 10% chances made my life. They gave me enough moments to live off when I had to train in the cold temperature in the winter, when I was getting dropped in the mountains. I remember these moments. Yeah, I know, but my day will come again. Not today, but I know how it feels, and I want that feeling. I want it back.
Yeah, and one thing that I really liked that you were talking about in the book is you I can't remember what the exact quote was, but it was something along the lines of it's not that you didn't feel the suffering the same as other people. You'd just been there before and you knew that you could go through it. We hear a lot in cycling, this person loves the hot temperature or this person loves the cold. And I really liked the way that you phrased it because it was clear that you didn't necessarily love being in those conditions. You just knew that you could endure them. When I was talking to Victor Campenarts, he said that climbing is like putting your head in a bucket of water. And you hold your head in the bucket of water, and if you don't believe that you can hold your head in the bucket of water longer than the person that you're climbing against, you will immediately take your head out of the bucket of water. But once you get the confidence to know that you can hold your head in that bucket of water longer than the person that you're climbing against, you will hold your head in there and until that other person takes it out. Is that sort of the mentality that you had with those breakaways? Like you were suffering, but you have confidence in yourself. You've got confidence in your own body, and you know that, to use his metaphor, you can hold your head in the bucket of water longer than they can.
Interesting way to describe it. Makes perfect sense because I have been in situations like that. I had two approaches. If I'm at the end of the group and swinging and almost getting dropped, I would break that mountain down into smaller pieces I can manage. Like I can hang on to that yellow car on the left side. I can hang on another 20 meters to that tree on the right side. And like this, you kind of like break it down to smaller bits, and you kind of like fake and trick yourself into hanging on longer than you actually should. Another one would be, you're riding along and you go, okay, they have to slow down. One more switchback, you got to slow down. One more switchback, and suddenly you have managed 10 switchbacks and you're still there, you know? Or you go, okay, I'm a very good rider. If I suffer like a dog, it must be so hard for them because they cannot be better than me. I trained, I'm a clean health, I was prepared for this race. If I suffer like mad, the other ones must suffer at least twice as much. You know, so trying to like encourage yourself, right? And if nothing works, then you just make yourself incredibly mad and angry at everybody, at the world. Negative energy is super strong boost, but it's poison for your soul. You cannot use it all the time, short, little amounts of it. But if you make yourself incredibly mad and angry, it does help you to go through some pain.
So where you're talking about that confidence in the fact that you are a really strong rider, you talk about in sort of the start of your career, you're at the first Tour de France, and your first Tour de France was the same Tour de France where Operation Puerto, I think, was the first.
No, Puerto was 2006. It was the Festina affair.
Festina affair, sorry, yes. So the Festina affair kicks off in your first Tour de France, and you must have been feeling at that time, because I think you do talk about it, that you were just thinking, how are these guys so strong? And then obviously you get the answer for it. What was it? Can you talk us through what it was like being in your first Tour de France? You know, this is something that you have ground on for so long. I think you were 27 or 26 when you first rode the Tour de France. What was it like as someone? You talk about being so innocent to it. You know, you've come up through a different sort of system, and then this blows up. Did it shatter your confidence in the sport like it did for so many other people?
Yes, absolutely it did. I mean, you know, it's a childhood dream, and even in East Germany, and once the wall came down, I needed another few years to actually find a contract. You know, we had the reunification in 1990, and only 8 years later I would ride my first Tour de France. So it was, once the wall came down, I realized, okay, the Tour de France becomes a possibility because the borders are open. So I needed another 8 years to find a contract to work my way towards that. And then you're in the Tour de France, and basically the shit hits the fan. You go, what the heck? This is my childhood dream. It's just falling apart in front of my eyes. And then you got friends and even your parents calling, go, hey, son, you're not part of this, aren't you? This is just awful. You know, when you have, you know, your mom and dad are asking if you in. So yeah, it was tough.
I remember, just to jump in there, you said that your parents literally called and they said, you cannot be caught up in this, because if you are, we will have to move village, because they'd named a street after you in where your parents were living or something. And the parents sort of said, we will have to move. Like, we can't stay here because it will be too tainted.
That's, what dad said. Dad said, look, I would never leave the house. If you in there and like in this town, we live in the Jens Voigt ring #1 where I built a house. And he said, we would have to move to another, at least state of Germany, maybe further. Yeah, that's what my parents said.
Yeah. So with that, I know, like, it just must have been such a bad time. There's a lot of anger that comes out of that period of doping. Tyler Hamilton, for example, specifically called you out, stating that you were jeopardizing his fight against doping. Now, we're not going to go into, because I feel like you've made it really clear on the public record. You have stated that you were never engaged in any of this. If people want to see what Jens has to say about that, I feel like that's been done to death, and that's not really where I want to take this. But I've spoken to Kittel, who stated that he was getting abused at German races after sort of the Lance Armstrong and Jan Ulrich, the doping issues around there, because of the actions of other German riders. What was the experience of riding in that period? And did it end up influencing your decision to leave the sport at the end?
Well, I went through that Festina period, the big scandal where the way it looked now, the entire team was basically had their own system of doping. It went a lot better from there. Then it went terrible again around 2006 with the Puerto affair, where we had, I think, 50 or 55 cyclists on a list of 200 athletes going to Madrid for whatever, blood doping, whatever else they did. But it might have taken time, but I believe we did catch everybody. So it always gave me hope. And, you know, it's like we sitting here now. And I really want to believe you and all your, 35 million Australians?
Yep. No, 27, I think
27 million Australians. And I really believe and I want to hope everybody pays the taxes correctly. Can I guarantee for everyone? No. But
they certainly don't.
Would I leave the country because not everybody pays their taxes? You got to kind of like live on and try to make it better and hope to make it better. And for 3 years, I believe, I was the writer speaker, kind of like early version, what the CPA is. I was with the CPA, the writers organization, which is another Australian in a moment running.
Yeah, Adam Hansen was my last interview. So, yep.
Yeah, Adam Hansen. I did his jobs years before. And that was tough because you had, some writers, mostly from the south of Europe, coming, hey, you are a representative, shut up, don't talk about it, protect us, cover it. And you had writers mostly from the north of Europe. They go, Jens, we are so glad you talk about it, but you need to talk even more clear, more hard against it, about it. So he had half of the peloton supporting you, going, yes, Jens, go. We need to make this public and clear this. And the other half go, shut up, just shut up. And it was not easy though, but yeah, trying to make the system better and not losing faith in it. And I had a long career. I finished at the age of 43, which is probably one of the longest careers out there. But there was definitely moments where it wasn't easy and it was less likable. And I'm not stupid. Of course, I can hear people talking behind my back. Yeah. Jens had 60 wins or 65 wins. For sure, he was part of it and whatnot. I can hear them talking behind me, And for example, in retirement, I did 5 times the Tour de Cure in Australia, right? A cancer charity event, 7 to 10 days it was always. And once I did a little event here to raise money, some funding. So I did the Everest challenge here, right? So I rode 9,000 meters vertical altitude in 410 kilometers for 26 hours. Wow. And I raised 42,000 euros, whatever, 47,000 Australian dollars, something like that, for the Tour de Cure. So the local TV station invited me. One question, oh, that was awesome. How cool, you raised the money. And second question already, so back in the days with Lance Armstrong and Jan Ulrich, how was that? I'm like, you bloody idiots. You want to ask you when I walk in here, age 85 with my little walking stick? You want to ask my children still about it? When is this going to stop? You know? And it is just nuts. It is just really nuts how long this goes. And it comes back up and back up again because I lived in that period.
How do you repair, I mean, not you specifically, but how do you think cycling repairs that stain? Because it is, you know, we have moved on, but we are still getting the conversation coming up over and over again. Anytime there is an anomalous performance or an extremely good performance, Jonas Vingegaard's TT at the Tour de France comes to mind. People always bring it up when it comes to Tadej Pogacar. How does cycling, which is the most tested sport, what does it have to do to prove that it's, I mean, like you said, there's always going to be tax evasion. There are always going to be people that are playing around the edges. But what does cycling have to do you think, to be able to prove that it's progressed to a point where people can be satisfied that the superhuman things that we're seeing are superhuman because of the training, the nutrition, all of those kind of things, and not because of something more nefarious?
Oh, I could easily talk just an hour just about this. Well, see, with cycling or all sports, every 50 or 100 years, there's, in a positive meaning of the word, there's a freak of nature born, like Mark Spitz, right? Or in Australia, you had this famous 4 people rowing, the
awesome foursome.
Yeah. You know, just every now and then, every 20, 30, 40 years, you have Pogacar being born. Or you have Albert Einstein. You have Beethoven born. You know, people, they are outstanding. And normal people like you and me, we go, how is that possible? How can you be so smart or so strong or so fast? Because we are normal. But
I'm flattered that you're putting you and I in the same equation.
But every now and then, you know, there's God is sitting there on it. I mean, I'm not religious, but that's how I explain it. You know, every now and then, God is sitting there, and there's this little human figures on his little production line running in front of him, and every 1 millionth of these little clay figures, which become later humans, he takes from the production line and give it a kiss. Blessed by the gods. And that's how Peter Sagan, Pogacar, Einstein, or Beethoven, Mozart, how they are born. Or people like Nelson Mandela. Outstanding people.
Yeah.
And it's just no logic behind it. It's just by luck of nature that you are selected to be one of them. So yeah, the talk will never stop in all sports. Cycling is doing a lot of testing, and I believe in the moment, that's I strongly believe so. The hunters, the chasers, the doping control system is level or ahead of potential cheating. I think they discovered all methods, all ways to cheat now, and they have tests for it. So I really believe cycling is as good as it ever will be or can be. We do live in the golden age of cycling. I mean, you know, you go to races and you got Wout van Aert racing against Mathieu van der Poel. You got Pogacar, Vingegaard, Remco Evenepoel. We got a really good period of cycling, spectacular cycling. So I believe the sport is good, but yeah, I don't think the talk will ever stop completely, which also is a good thing. It leaves the pressure on to keep being clean and performing. Maybe for the normal people out there, at any Olympic sport, cycling, track and field, any Olympic sport, you have to be part of the WADA, W-A-D-A, World Anti-Doping Agency. That means between Christmas and New Year's Eve, you gotta provide where you're gonna be January, February, March, 3 months ahead, day by day. And every day you got to give 1 hour where you are precisely at that spot that you say, 1 hour each day. So now imagine, like, you're a school teacher, right? Imagine your school or your ministry for school or health or youth says, hey, teachers, I think you all cheating. I think you all drink and then come to school. I want every single one of you to provide 3 months ahead where you will be every single day. And I do have the right to come randomly to your house and ask you to pee in that bottle. You would go, are you insane? Are you insane? That would never fly in any normal world apart from sport. But we brought it up on ourselves because we did have cheating going on. So we needed to do something. So we really went far out of the way. I mean, really, if you bring it down, in no other environment, this could be legal. That your employee, your governing body asks you 3 months ahead to provide where you will be. That wouldn't fly anywhere. But in sport, it does. So cycling, as well as any Olympic sport, they got to provide 3 months ahead where they will be day by day. But for me, it was easy. I was married, so I had to stay by life. So I said, look, come to my house from 6 to 7 a.m. I will be there. At 7 a.m., I walk the dogs and start driving the kids to school. But from 6 to 7, I will be there. And some days he would come twice a day. He would come in the morning, and then he would come in the afternoon, right?
Yeah, well.
I mean, I had a longer training ride, and we went a little bit the wrong way. So instead of 5 hours, it turned out to 6 hours. And you were at my house. And my wife, that day we had prepared the kids from school. We had prepared the barbecue. We wanted to have a barbecue. So a few friends, my wife, my kids, sitting there at the barbecue waiting for me to come home. And they were not allowed to tell me that the doping people are there. So I come home sweaty from training after 6 hours. And once they see you, they have to have you in eyesight any single moment and second. Shower, toilet, everything. Once they give you the notification, dear Mr. Voigt, you'll be selected for out of competition control. They have to be with you at every single moment. So they come to the shower with you. The other person is sitting down at the barbecue with my friends and my wife. And the other person went with me into the shower so that I couldn't hide something or change or do whatever sort of manipulations. So yeah, it's sometimes it's far. We go far to make our sport better and more clear and clean. But again, I don't see another way of keep doing this because it gives transparency. I mean, for moments, I was so desperate because, you know, in this period where people wouldn't trust me, they would say, oh, I can see Jens being part of this, blah, 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 blah. I was a few times I thought about, hey, listen, I'm just going to take a random fan and he's going to live 3 months with me. He is going to be sleeping in the same room. He's going to come to training camp. He's going to ride training with me. So that 24 hours each day for 3 months, he will be with me just to prove that, hey, look, I just train and work hard. So yeah, sometimes it's uncomfortable, but the sport is good in the moment, definitely.
Has it, I think, honestly, what you brought up there is something that I think a lot of people, myself included, haven't considered, which is exactly what you said, the sacrifice that riders are making to prove that the sport is unclean, that the sport is clean. And to an extent, it is unfair on the modern generation because they've grown up in spite of the stain that was left from that era. They've still decided that they want to get involved in cycling, and now they have the burden of a past generation that they're constantly having to clean up. Would you say that what you've described there has swung too far in the other direction? And, you know, is it too invasive on cyclists' lives, on athletes' lives?
It is invasive, I have to say. But that's, you know, when you sign on a dotted line your contract, you know that. People tell you, you know, you get this amount of money, you got this amount of racing days, we expect you to train for 25,000 kilometers a year, plus racing another 10, 15,000 per year, and you be part of the doping and anti-doping program. They explain it to you, they help you to set it up. So it's part of your life. And the young kids, they have been growing up to see, okay, it took many, many years, but we do clean it up. So they are also believe they live in a better world now, from the sins of their forefathers or whatever you want to call it. It's better now. So it is invasive, but it's just part of the game, and there is no other way around it. And the young kids are growing up with that anti-doping program, so they just know it. I mean, as soon as you turn 18, you become part of that, or if you are part of the national team, you got to enter this program as well. And on the other side, I don't know if it's a coincidence or my entire career, basically, I was always in the testing pool, right? Amateur national team, becoming a professional. I was always in the testing team for, well, basically 18 years. And 18 years, I said, I provided all these informations, and I said in this 18 years, probably twice I missed the test. Because one time I missed the flight and I didn't forget, I forgot about changing my whereabouts because I was at the airport in Paris in a hotel instead of being home the next morning. And I don't know, the other one, something else with training camp. You're allowed to have 2 missed tests within 6 months. And then you get erased. If you have 3 within 6 months, it's 1 positive case and you get 2 years. So in 18 years, I had 2 of them missed tests. Why did I? And then I was giving them my whereabouts. I said, dear people, the entire year, I give you all my whereabouts. Here are my whereabouts. I'm going to be at this Robinson holiday club with my family for a week. If there's any chance, please don't show up. It's a 1 week per year. I'll be with my family. Please don't show up. And if you show up, please don't make a big story. Don't come to my table and take me like you arrest me from my dinner table with the family, right? And they never showed up. So I believe they were human as well. They did read. They said, okay, Jens, we never had problems with him. He never had any suspicious values in his blood or in his body. And if it's just 1 week per year with the family on a holiday, just leave the man in peace. So that was good. On the other side, Germans, like we are really bring things in order and be correct. I am 43 years old, right? 18th of September, I do my last event, the World Hour Record in Switzerland, and I retire basically the same night. I said, okay, anti-doping control, press conference, celebration with friends and fans. We had a big party with the spectators on that track. And I retired basically on that day, right? So now, 29th of December, the German anti-doping comes to check me one more time. I'm like, even my wife went, geez, that is a waste of resources. My husband is 43 years old. Do you think he plans a secret comeback? He hasn't trained for 3 months. But it is within the right, to come. And also with the anti-doping system, when you retire, because we had cases where people would retire in April, do whatever they needed to do in training camps hidden in the mountains, and come back 2 weeks before the World Championships and winning a medal. So in order to stop this from happening, you still had to go for another 6 months.
Wow.
Onto the anti-doping program once you stop retiring. There's an option which I took. You write a letter. Listen, I hereby declare and I swear that I will never, ever have a comeback. And 1st of January, I want to be out of the system. I will never provide my whereabouts. But I also know I lose the right to have a comeback. If I want to have a comeback, I would need 1 year to be in the system before I would be able to race again, before I would be able to get a license. So I wrote him a letter. Yep, I declare I will never ever have a comeback and I want to be released immediately starting 1st of January out of the whereabouts system. And it worked pretty fine for me.
Except from the 29th of December where they came and hit you. Hey, my favorite rider, so I came to cycling a bit later than some. I sort of came to cycling when I was about 22. And my favorite rider was Andy Schleck. I wanted to be Andy Schleck. He and Frank I've got some real memories of the battle, particularly between Andy and Cadel Evans. But I remember being really disappointed that Andy Schleck never won a Tour de France. And then he did in the end. And it was because Alberto Contador had his taken because of a positive test. I think it was to clenbuterol. I can't remember exactly. You were on that team, I believe, when Andy came second. Eventually, the record books will state that Andy Schleck has won a Tour de France. You were quite close, I think, particularly to Frank, but do you remember when that was declared that Andy Schleck won that? Was there a celebration? What was the mood like? I can't imagine. I always felt quite gutted because, I don't know, he's a sports person that I'd watch suffer. I felt very close to Andy, and I was really disappointed that he didn't get his moment at the Tour de France to get that yellow jersey. Did you guys hold a celebration around that, or how did that go?
No, it was kind of like almost under the radar because Tour de France had enough scandals, so the organization didn't want to make a big story out of it.
No.
So they basically drove in a car to Andy Schleck's house and said, "Hey, Andy, 10 a.m. tomorrow, we'll be at your house and give you the yellow jersey." So there was a quick picture done by that. I was lucky enough to win the Tour de France with Carlos Sastre. We also had Andy and Frank in the team. So we do have this picture, all 9 of us on the podium in the Champs-Élysées, Carlos Sastre in yellow jersey in the middle of us. And yeah, that is a picture you keep forever. And Andy don't have that. So yes, he is not 100% happy about that. Yeah, because, right, history book says, yes, he won the Tour, but he never had the chance to ride in the yellow jersey through Paris, which is an unforgettable moment.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, enough about that. I want to get on to your hour record before we wrap up because, like you said, it was sort of the last thing. Firstly, how important is the hour record or holding that for a period? How important was that to you? And also, if my research is correct, you were the first person that did it on a modern track bike. Do you think that was important in your success? Not detracting from that. It is, cycling is full of people pioneering new technology, but how important do you think that new tech was to you being able to take that hour record?
Yes, to all of it. So yes, it was important. Yes, it was a good event. I was 43 years old. The day after my 43rd birthday, I did set that record. So birthday on 17th September, the record on the 18th, because in terms of training and coming down from altitude from the race in Colorado, in the Tour of Colorado, it worked just perfectly to have that day. And I was glad and thankful that I could finish my career on a high like that. It is important because there is really, well, apart from mine, there's only the biggest names in cycling on it. Miguel Indurain, Eddie Merckx, Chris Boardman, a specialist in time trialing now, Filippo Ganna. So I was glad that I had a chance to have a go at it. But yes, realistically, on the Eddie Merckx style bike, Eddie Merckx did an outstanding performance on a normal points race bike to ride 49.1 or whatever kilometers an hour. It is insane how strong he had to be to make that. And the other record with Sosenka stood for a long time until the UCI renewed the rules. Okay, we want this type of bike. And then I said, hey, let's a quick calculation. Yes, even at 43 years of age. And I was really fit and strong for my age, but I was definitely less strong than 5 or maybe even 10 years ago, which is normal. That's the law of nature. You get older and you get slower. So I said, okay, that would be possible. And I know that within our team, Cancellara had a few test runs at the old style record with the round handlebars, the points race, the standard bike. And even Cancellara, double Olympic champion and 4 times world champion, he said, oh, it's going to be a maybe. I believe I can make it, but I cannot guarantee. It's so hard to ride on that bike. So when he changed the rules, I'm like, okay, now it is within my reach. And I said, hey, Fabian, listen, if you don't want to do it this year, it's my last year. If you give me permission to go for it, I would like to do that. But of course, if you say you want to do it, you're the boss of the team, then you got
I
the
was going to say,
priority.
was that because you were on the same team there? Yeah.
Yeah, we were on the same team,
Yep.
correct. And so Fabian said, no, Jens, not this year. I got to get ready for the Tour de France, for the Vuelta a España, the World Championship, so I don't have time to do it this year. So I could use some of his data, some of his ideas about training and preparing. The bike company Trek was kind enough to build the bike for me, which also most people don't know. You can only use a bike for the world hour record, which is a serious production bike. You cannot use a single handmade prototype bike. That is not illegal. So Trek created a mini series of, I believe, 10 to 20 bikes for sale. Every single part of that bike has to be on free sale on the shelf in a shop.
Yeah.
We did that. And it definitely helped me to, move it up from 49 to 51. I did. And I was hoping I would still, around Christmas time, I would still be holding that record. But since that record was kind of like falling asleep for many, many years, nobody has touched it or tried it. It was almost like a little forgotten. My team, Trek Bikes, and myself, we made it interesting. We made it look sexy. We sold tickets to the event, or basically gave away tickets. We said, hey, we have a barbecue after with the hopefully new world record holder. So we barbecue on a parking lot of that bike venue. I had a soundtrack created. We had, live coverage at almost prime time at Eurosport. So it was a lot more accessible. So people said, this is awesome, and so other teams, sponsors, organizations went, this is good. 1 hour of prime time TV coverage where there's nothing else but our bike, our rider, our jersey, our name. It is just really valuable. So a lot of people tried after me. So my record only lasted 2 months before the next one broke it. But yeah, I like the fact that I retired from my sport, officially being the fastest man on earth. I like that fact. And even my oldest son, see, my wife and me, we kind of like, for the good or the bad, I don't know, we kept the kind of like separated, family and my job. And so my oldest son, back then, he was just 18, I believe. Yeah, he went, so Dad, just that I understand it right, you set a world record and then you retire? I said, yes, son, that's exactly what I did. So it was a good feeling. But yeah, clearly new technology, being allowed to have a disc wheel and the TT handlebar helped me a lot. And just to make people laugh, before Ghana, it was basically the aerodynamics engineer for Filippo Ganna who set the record. Oh, I'm just...
I'm blanking as well, but I think he's now doing the Red Bull stuff. Yeah.
And we had him in our podcast before. And I said, how many watts did you do? He said, 356 watts. I said, damn, I did 411 watts, 40-hour average, and I was slower than you. And then you could see him calculating and laughing. And he went, you know what, Jens? You and me, my head on your body, we would have ridden 60 kilometers an hour.
Was it? It wasn't Dan Bingham, was it?
Yes, Dan. It was. Yes, actually, Dan Bingham. Yeah.
Yeah.
Super smart kid, very good rider, but a super smart kid when it comes to technology and aerodynamics. So yeah, he said, you know what, Jens? Your body and my head, we would be unbeatable.
I want to, because we're coming up to time, I want to close off on, I think one thing that it is a bit criminal here is if I ignore the fact that you are now a cycling pundit, you do your own commentary. So I want to ask you what races this year you're most excited for and why?
Well, I guess no big surprises. The classics. because we got 5 monuments. Giro Lombardia at the end and 4 at the start of the year. So we have Mathieu van der Poel and Tadej Pogacar. Each of them has 3 monuments out of the 5. And probably the last 20 monuments, either one of them won. A little bit of Remco in between, but mostly it's one of them 2 winning. The way I see it, as long as Mathieu van der Poel is active, riding, and is in normal shape, it's next to impossible for Tadej to win Paris-Roubaix or to win Milan-San Remo. Because these races just suit Mathieu van der Poel much better. Otherwise, as long as Tadej Pogacar is racing and wanting to win, it's next to impossible for Mathieu van der Poel to win the 2 missing monuments for him, which is Liège-Bastogne-Liège and Giro Lombardia, because it's too hilly. So I love the clash of them two in the pursuit of greatness to win all 5 monuments year after year. They give it their best and provide a great show. Apart from that, I do love the Grand Tours. I do love Paris-Roubaix and Tirreno Adriatico because they're at the same time, and you could see an indication because normally the winner of one of them or both are at least podium in the Tour de France. Very often, the winner of one of these 2 races is podium in the Tour de France or Giro Italia. So it sets the tone. And then look at the team Red Bull, Bora Hansgrohe. They got Remco Evenepoel already performing well.
Yeah.
They got the German hope, the German new superstar Florian Lipowitz. And they got the old champion with Primož Roglič. So they're quite loaded with champs. Champs, they still have it with Roglič. Champs, they will come to it with Lipowitz. And a champion like Remco, who is at the high of his career right now, double Olympic champion. He won the Vuelta a España. So all of them know how to win a Grand Tour. Lipowitz in the Tour de France, third, being so close to Jonas Vingegaard and also to Tadej. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the Grand Tours to see how this will be, raced. And I believe it's a good idea for Jonas Vingegaard to race the Vuelta, to race the Giro Italia before. He's a grown-up, strong super champion. He needs hard miles in the legs to be ready for the Tour de France. So it's good that he breaks up the old system. Said, no, that old system always made me second in the Tour, but I want to win, so I got to try something else. It's a brave, bold decision, and I believe it will pay off. I can see Jonas, even though he had another training crash right now, which seemed to be his biggest problem over the years, but I see Jonas like face-to-face, eye-to-eye on the same level than Tadej. So yeah, looking forward to see that big epic battle one more time.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope he can get a good run up to the Tour de France because obviously last year that didn't happen. I think it was 6 weeks or something before he was back racing at the Dauphiné. So yeah, hopefully he gets the uninterrupted run up that he can get. I guess what I'd like to close on before is just one question about the Tour de France. Do you think that Red Bull should go with Florian Lipowitz as the leader for the Tour de France, or do you think he's still too young to take that responsibility and it will be Remco?
To start off with, it is always easier to be the surprise package. When people expect you to be 15th or 10th and you be better, you go, this is awesome. Positive momentum, positive support. So now that he finished 3rd, if he finishes 3rd this year, they go, yeah, that's what we expected. Last year they were over the moon excited, but now they expect the same. So it is so much harder to repeat success, right? Because people look at you. Lipowitz cannot say anymore, no, my team doesn't work. Somebody else needs it. But no, Florian, you were 3rd last year. Your team have to take responsibility now. So that makes it more difficult. But since he comes from winter sports, biathlon, the skiing and shooting, he is still relatively new to the sport. I believe he still hasn't reached the full potential yet. So yes, if he only gets 1 or 2% stronger, he is where Tadej and Remco and Jonas are at their best. So yes, he can be there, but I guess they run a double strategy, which worked last year as well. They had Florian and also they had
Was it Remco last year? No,
no,
sorry, it was Roglic.
Roglic,
Last year,
Primoz.
but
They had Primoz Roglic
he had
as
the
well.
ankle socks on by the end of the tour, and he was just on a holiday. Yeah,
Well, he was still 6 or 7 overall, so I think it's still good enough. He just enjoys life, I guess. He doesn't feel the pressure anymore. So I believe right now it's good to have 2 leaders, because also Remco, what a champion he is, but Remco also is hot or cold. You know, he wins the Vuelta or he blows up in a leader's jersey and loses 50 minutes in a day.
Yeah.
Giro Italia, I think 2 times DNF, right? So if he is there, he's brilliant. But if he's not there, he's also brilliant this way. You know, he goes, nah, forget about it. You know, F this, I want to go home.
Yeah.
So it's good to have a backup system there installed. Remco is growing up. He's becoming more mature, but we have seen him a few times moving and waving his arms in TV when he is unhappy at World Championships or at some races. But I mean, Remco, you're a world-class athlete. People don't write for you to make you win.
Yeah.
They write against you, not for you. They are in a different team. They
Australia-
want to win as well. You got to realize that.
In
And
Australia,
plus-
we call that a dummy spit. Remco is a bit notorious for a dummy spit. Yeah. Hey, so in your autobiography, last question, you said you want to leave your own footprints. What footprints do you think you've left in the world, and what footprints do you still want to leave from what's left in your career in cycling?
Well, footprints from what is left. I would like to get my kids started into their lives on the best possible way, so that they are confident, strong, smart, resilient, but also kind. You know, kindness is often underestimated, especially in these tough times we live in.
Big
Being
time.
kind is a good character to have. So trying to make them fit for life, you know. And for myself, I just want to keep working like that. People go, you know what, with Jens, you see what you get and you get what you see. There's no facade. I'm not fake. I am what I am. And you can always count on you get exactly that what you see. So I want to keep doing that. And well, I don't know if that is leaving footprints, but once the kid's out of the house and I don't need to earn that much money anymore to provide food and shelter, I just want to have a bookshop. You know, I
Yeah.
just want to have a small little bookshop with a really good coffee machine. Want to sit there, read my books, and drink my own cappuccinos. I would even kick my customers out of the shop and go, no, leave me alone. I just want to sit in here, my little piece of heaven, drink my cappuccinos, and read my own books. That would be my dream job.
Have you ever seen, there's a British TV show called Black Books. Have you ever seen it?
No.
It's basically that. It's a guy that owns a bookshop and he hates the customers. He just wants to sit in his bookshop and read the classics. If that is your dream, I think you would like it. It is quite funny. Seasons 1 and 2, it dies off on season 3 and then there's no more. But it is a very funny show. All right, Jens, I appreciate your time. This has been fantastic. I've heard and in the research the nicest man in cycling being thrown around, and I can 100% see it. So thank you so much. If anyone hasn't read the autobiography, and this is not a plug for it, that has been organized, I just read it organically because I had some time. It is really interesting. It's really, I really like the way that it's written. I like the fact that you sort of intersperse some sections from other people talking about you. It's quite cool. So definitely one to give a go if you are interested. And yeah, I really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me as a guest. And yeah, dear viewers and listeners, hopefully you enjoy it, and hopefully it does make sense what I say.
Yeah, no, it definitely will. So, yeah, thank you. And yeah, thanks everyone for listening.